The cartoon began with the performance of the whole group. They performed so coolly that the whole hall was delighted. Mr. Moon ran up to each participant and said that the performance was super and he was very happy. Mr. Moon and the whole group noticed a girl in the hall who was known as a critic. Mr. Moon was very happy because after she wrote a great review it would become even more popular. But then the critic got up and headed for the exit. Mr. Moon decided to catch up with her and ask her to come back. He caught up with her and started asking why she decided to leave. The critic admitted that his theater is ideal for the province but definitely not for big business. She got into a taxi and drove away. Mr. Moon got on his bike and caught up with the taxi. He asked the critic to record his band for an audition but she refused and Mr. Moon, losing control, fell into the pool from where he was pushed out by a whale. Nana Noodleman went into the office and found Mr. Moon in the drawer of the desk in which he was sitting. A conversation ensued in which Nana said that if he did not fight and if he paid attention to others then he would not succeed. Mr. Moon, lying on the bed at night, still decided. He got up and went to his girlfriend who was performing on stage with a guitar. Ash hugged Moon happily. He invited her to return to their theater. At that moment the owner of the stage approached them and gave Ash a check with a fee. She saw that the amount in the check was 2 times less than they had agreed and decided to leave with Mr. Moon. When Mr. Moon approached the bus it became clear that the band was not sure what they would do because they were not even invited to audition. Rosita stopped the bus and said that she did not want to miss such a chance in her life and everyone decided to go anyway. All night while the bus was traveling they were preparing by the audition. In the morning they arrived in a city that was very beautiful and diverse. When they entered the building they heard the bad news that they would not be allowed to audition without recording. The whole group was saddened and had already gone back, but Mr. Moon found a way out of the situation. They pretended to be cleaners and were able to get to the audition. A lot of different bands performed on the stage, but all of them were refused. The director didn't like the first performance of the group either, but he really liked the second one about the space adventure. Director Jim said that you can conquer the whole world with such a performance if the author of the song is there and if Mr. Moon invites him to perform then Director Jim will sign a contract with the band. Jim told Moon not to let him down and left by helicopter. Now the big problem is to find the author of the song and invite him, but Ash said that she knows him and that he will not agree to go anywhere. Mr. Moon and Gator developed a project where Moon showed how the whole show would take place and Rosita would be in the lead role. The roles were distributed and everyone began to prepare for the performance. Johnny was sent to a dance class. Meanwhile Mina came up to Mr. Moon and told him that she had learned about her role and was worried about not being able to cope. The fact is that according to the script she has to go on a date and kiss in front of a huge crowd of people and before that she had no one to do it. Mrs. Polsley found Clay Calloway's address which made the whole team very happy. Meanwhile John had a dance class. He had no success from the word at all. A little later Mina met her partner and already began to rehearse her part of the performance. They didn't have much success either. Mina was very shy and could not overcome herself and Darius on the contrary overplayed himself too much. Mrs. Polsley was already driving up to the house where Clay lives. Mr. Clay met her, to put it mildly, not very cordially. And she had to go back. Mr. Moon was already beginning to worry about the fact that there had been no news from Mrs. Polsley for a long time. Meanwhile a wolf approached him and introduced him to his daughter Portia, who loved Clay very much and wanted to see him. Rosita also began to prepare for the performance. She was very afraid of heights and it bothered her a lot. During her number she had to jump down from a high enough distance and still sing. Not far from the site where everything took place were Jim and Proshaw. She tried to jump down and she turned out to be completely unafraid of heights and at the same time sing. Portia really wanted the role of Rosita and got it with the help of her dad. Rosita was very upset but tried not to show it. John came to a dance class and again it did not bring any success. After leaving the dance school he saw how Nusha was dancing very cool and there were a lot of people around who liked her. He begged her to give him a couple of dance lessons and she agreed. Miss Polsley told about what happened at Clay's house. Jim found out that Mr. Moon was cheating on him about Clay and Mr. Moon and Ash went to talk to him. Rehearsals were in full swing but for some reason nothing worked out. During the break Mina met an ice cream maker and she liked him very much. Johnny had his first lesson with Nusha and it definitely gave a good result. Mr. Moon failed to persuade Clay but Ash stayed with him and all hope remained for her. Moon decided to fire Portia because she couldn't handle the role. They found out about it and showed it on a very famous show. Jim was very angry and told Suki's assistant to call Moon. Before entering Jim Moon's office Ash called and said that Clay Calloway had agreed. Jimmy was not softened by this news and he wanted to kill Moon, but he was interrupted by the news that he had a broadcast in 2 minutes. He locked Moon in a room and left. Jim's assistant helped Moon out and told him to get out of town. He gathered the whole team and decided to run away. But Clay Calloway said there's always another way out. And they decided to stay and secretly perform. Moon invited Portia to play the role of an alien and she agreed. The people in the theater began to converge and the performance begins. Jimmy found out about the performance and tried to get to the theater as soon as possible. But he was neutralized by the guards who came at Johnny's request. The performance ends and the whole audience is delighted. No one expected to see Glue. And now the whole team is riding in the bus in which they came here back to their city. Everyone is very happy and proud of themselves and friends. But then Suki knocks on the window and says that people are delighted with their performance and that they want to show their musical constantly in that theater. The whole team returns to the theater, which in such a short time has become their home.